For those who believe in the existence of Satan, such shocking events seem possible only through his direction.
Satan teaches us many things. The first thing that he teaches us that he's returning. And we are to provide an army for his return.
Whenever there is evil, genocide, atrocities that are committed, violations of human rights, destruction of the environment, all of these are evil deeds. And evil, in its essence, is rooted in the teachings of Satan and those who follow his temptations.
I'm Sin Jones, proprietor of The Poison Apple. I'm sure many of you have seen videos and commentary in social media, and you're like, what is all this about? Seemingly, it appears to be a conflict between groups and individuals vying for a brand name, templesofsatan.com. This is not the case. It is a public service announcement about a man who goes by various aliases. He's most known as Tom Blackwood. Tom Blackwood is the origination of the term Blobtard. The site www.blobtard.com is essentially a public service to announce that there is a man who is a cancer in social media, who is using Satanism as a guise to cull in people for their intelligence and for their money. Now, there's lots of scams out there, and I'm sure many of you have reported many of them. But this is really a detriment to productivity. This man infiltrates groups, he gains intel on them, and then he uses that intel to spread large volumes of content on social platforms, of which is fabrication, smear, and character attacks. So when you see this content, I encourage you to investigate it, because most of the time it will be unfounded, completely fabricated by Blackwood as a tactic to eliminate what he sees as his competition. And he is competing. He's competing to be on the front page of web searches so that when you look for theistic Satanism, you will find only him. He's trying to push people down off the search pages. He refers to it in a Sumerian context as kicking them off the ziggurat. This whole Sumerian shtick is relatively new for Blackwood. Previously, he was a quote-unquote LaVeyan Satanist, and then exhausted atheistic Satanists trying to peddle his wares. They weren't buying it, so he moved on to theistic Satanism. And now there are many, many people that have had direct dealings with him that can testify to this. And there are volumes of content which prove this, all of which is culminated on the WordPress site. I encourage you to look into this man. If you find him trying to enter your groups on various social media, block him. His only key aim is to make friendly so that you can become quote-unquote allies, and then what he will do is he will gain that information that he needs to try to infiltrate, become administrator of said groups, and take over, or else smear and character attack you to death. And he does work at this feverishly. He invests some of his money into it so that he produces large volumes of content in social media for the sole purpose of deconstructing any person or any group doing anything productive in Satanism. Now, Satanism may put people at the edge of their seats that are not familiar with it, but I encourage you to investigate it on your own. There are many alternative religions out there of which use Satan, whether it be a philosophy or a religion. You really need to look into it yourself to determine what it is. I won't go into that here. This is merely clarification on blobtard.com. So I produce updates on a regular basis, of which are entered into the public record, and it is for this reason and this reason alone. Now, if individuals have been duped by this man and they have chosen to align with him, it is because they've been fooled. They're under the impression that there is some bullying going on, and my key aim is to be a big bad bully in social media. You know, this is a perception issue. I'm not really concerned with that at the moment. You know, I try to cull that back as much as I can and clarify what this is actually about, but you know, people are going to continue to believe what they want to believe and can't do much about that. All you can do is provide the evidence to support your claim. Now, any claim that I have made in social media is then backed up with evidence. So if I've said this man has done something, I then can show the evidence that he has done this, whether it be audio, video, screen captures, blogs that he has written, direct them to that evidence. Now, when you question Tom Blackwood's claims and allegations. Sometimes he has evidence, depending on what it is, but for the most part, he has zero evidence to back up his claims. And then he claims that he doesn't have to provide it because there is no people's court. So he's basically telling you that he's going to make a claim and you're going to believe it, and if you don't believe it, then you're an enemy, or you're a detractor, or you're an idiot, a moron. He'll do all these things. So this video is just to clarify what the issue is about. Should anyone seek clarification themselves, I encourage you to contact me directly, and I am reachable. You can speak with me by phone. You can contact me through my website. My website is www.the-poison-apple.com. There you can find my contact form, email me directly, and I can certainly give you my telephone number, and we can speak about this in a private manner should you have any questions. But for the most part, this video is to simply clarify that there is no conflict other than this. The conflict is this, in that I have been reporting on this since 2011. I have done several podcasts. I've interviewed people on my show that have had dealings with this man. So if you find yourself caught up in the drama in social media and find yourself frustrated and believe that everybody should just stop and this should all just go away, well, it's not going to go away, because people have tried to ignore Tom Blackwood. But he does not stop. He is relentless in smearing them and attacking them. And many people do rely on their reputations. A lot of employers search the internet when they're looking for employees for their company, and if they find the content that Tom Blackwood has fabricated, this may deter them from looking at this person as a candidate. Tom will also take these activities offline. He's not content to just blog and write and post all of his content on the internet. No. He will pick up the telephone. He'll contact your employer. He'll contact your family members. He's even threatened to put out news broadcasts in local newspapers, which I highly doubt is possible, but you never know. There could be some rag mag that's willing to publish his nasty little ad about somebody. And if you look at it, you find yourself caught up in this, it is because his key aim is to paint Satanism and Satanists in a negative light. This is obvious by his WordPress called exposingsatan.com. You can certainly review this blog. You can certainly review all of his content, which he produces himself. I have no need to produce content about Mr. Rasputnik, aka Tom Blackwood, because he produces it himself. I'm merely directing the viewer to the content he himself produces. I add my own commentary to explain why I'm sharing this content, but it is content that he himself has produced, whether it be videos, audio blogs, photographs, blogs he's written, articles he's produced. He will also utilize a site called Ripoff Report and sites like them. I have produced several topics on the WordPress to explain the detriment of using sites like this, because it doesn't matter if you contact the company to have this stuff removed, it will not be removed. So it doesn't matter if this man has made the most ludicrous claim about you. There's nothing you can do to have it removed. And believe me, people have tried to have Ripoff Reports removed. There's an entire Wikipedia page dedicated to it, and videos which will explain why these Ripoff Reports will not be removed, even if it's false material. Google is a culprit in making sure this information shows up at the top of the page when searching for you. So if someone was looking for you for your email address, your social networking page, they're going to find this nasty, commentary about you. So I have chosen to report on it because I find it to be a fascinating study of social media, because it is part of a lot of the things that I'm involved in, a lot of projects, which is to resolve conflict, not to create it. In some cases, some necessary conflict is required because there is a friction that is required for change to occur, such as in the case of being intolerant of such behavior. I myself will not tolerate it. Thus, I am doing something about it. I'm not content to just talk about how intolerant I am actually being intolerant by creating the content for your review. So, that being said, I direct you to the site, do your own investigating, and you can search Google. You don't even have to rely on my resources. You can do your own searches, and you'll find ample content to support the claims being made about Tom Blackwood, Tom Eric Resputnik, proprietor of templesofsatan.com, voiceofsatan.com, and the upcoming radio news show, Flagship Radio, which I'm sure is just going to be another platform for Resputnik to spread his smear with his limp sword. So I'm Sin Jones signing out. Should you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm always available.